behind closed door. Angie and Nelson were a happy couple, deeply in love. Their home was filled with warmth and laughter, and their excitement grew as they anticipated the birth of their first child. Angie was 9 months pregnant, counting the days until she would hold her baby in her hands. Her younger sister, Morenike, had always been around to help. She assisted with cleaning, running errands, keeping Angie company. Angie adored her sister and always made sure Nelson bought her some gifts to show appreciation. Nelson, a devoted husband, never hesitated to make both his sister and sister-in-law very happy. The day finally came when Angie delivered a baby boy. They named him Uche. His arrival brought immeasurable joy. Nelson was overwhelmed with love, surprised Angie with a car as a gift, and gave Morenike a new phone as a token of appreciation. Their home was filled with happiness, and life seemed perfect. As Uche grew, Morenike took a special interest in him. She showered him with attention, always taking him out for ice cream and buying him gifts. Angie would often joke, "The way you and my husband are spoiling Uche, he will soon forget his mother." They all laughed, believing their family bond was very strong. But soon, subtle changes began to appear. At first, Angie noticed small changes. Whenever she came home, she would find Morenike's room locked. When she knocked, it took a while before Morenike opened the door. She always has excuses. "Oh, I have dozed off." At first, it seemed normal, but then Uche's behavior began to change. He stopped wanting to go out with Morenike. When Angie suggested, "Go and get ice cream with Auntie Morenike," Uche would shake his head, tears welling up in his eyes. Yet Morenike would smile, pick him up and insist, "Come, let's go." Angie noticed but dismissed it as childish mood swings. As the months passed, Uche began to withdraw. He no longer played with his friends. He once used to have a bright laugh, but now he replaced it with total silence. His best friend, Nneka, also noticed too. The lively boy she knew was fading away, and she didn't understand why. One day, a group of kids approached Nelson outside their home. "Uncle, we miss Uche. He doesn't play with us anymore. He just sits alone." Nelson was alarmed. That night, he spoke with Angie. "Something is wrong with our son. He won't talk to me. Maybe it's just a phase," Angie reasoned, though deep inside she felt uneasy. The next day, when Angie and Nelson were out, Morenike knelt beside Uche. Her voice was low but sharp. "Remember what I told you, Uche. Be a good boy or else." Then she took his hand and led him to her room, locking the door behind them. At school, Uche's mind was clouded with confusion. During a biology class, he suddenly raised his hand and asked, "Must a man get married to have kids?" The class erupted in laughter. The teacher smiled awkwardly, unsure how to respond to Uche's question, but just brushed it aside. But it left an impression on the classmates. Nneka, however, didn't smile. She saw the pain in his eyes. After class, she approached him. "Uche, please talk to me. I will be strong for you." Uche looked at her, but remained silent. The next day, the other kids taunted him, but Nneka stood by his side, shielding him. At home, Nelson and Angie were growing desperate. Even Uche's favorite ice cream no longer interested him. Something was deeply wrong, but they couldn't figure out what. They asked Morenike if she noticed anything strange. She shrugged. "He's just acting like a baby." One evening, Angie returned home earlier than usual and heard muffled sound from Morenike's room. She knocked, no answer. She knocked harder. After a long pause, Morenike opened the door. Uche sat on the bed, his face damp with tears. Angie's heart clenched. "Why do you always lock the door with my son inside?" she demanded. Morenike replied, "Oh, I was helping him with homework." Morenike, farming innocence. Children at times can be very difficult, you know. Something in Angie's gut told her it was more than that. That night, she sat with Uche. "Baby, is Auntie Morenike mean to you?" Uche hesitated. He wanted to speak, but fear silenced him. He only shook his head. Angie sighed and hugged him, but doubt lingered in her house. Nelson and Angie took Uche to a doctor who suggested that maybe he was going through normal childhood changes and prescribed vitamins. But the uneasy in their house remained. Meanwhile, Nneka had a plan. She called Nelson, pretending to invite Uche to her birthday party. "I just want my best friend to be happy again," she said sweetly. "But I would love for just you and Auntie Angie to bring him." Nelson and Angie, desperate for anything that could lift Uche's spirits, agreed. When Morenike heard about the party, she grew suspicious. "I will come too," she insisted. "No," Nelson said firmly. "This is for us and Uche." Morenike pulled Uche aside. "Remember what I said," she whispered. "Be a good boy." At the birthday party, Nelson and Angie were surprised to see only Nneka. "Where are your parents?" Nelson asked. "Actually, this isn't really my birthday," she said. Nelson and Angie exchanged confused looks. Nneka took a deep breath. "This is the best gift I can give my best friend. I called you here because Uche has been suffering and no one has been listening." Their faces darkened with worry. "Uche has been avoiding me, avoiding everyone because he's hiding something. But he finally told me the truth. Auntie Morenike has been sexually abusing him." The world seemed to stop. Angie gasped, her body trembling. "No, No, that's not true. Nelson's fist clenched. What are you saying, Nneka? Tears rolled down Nneka's eyes. It is true. She threatens him. She locks him up in her room. She has taken his childhood away. That's why he doesn't talk. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't play. Because no one believes boys can be victims too. Angie turned to her son, tears streaming down her face. Baby, is this true? Uche, for the first time, nodded. His tiny voice broke the silence. Yes, mommy. Angie collapsed into sobs, guilt crashing over her. I'm so sorry, my baby. I didn't know. Nelson stood up, rage burning in his eyes. He pulled out his phone and called the authorities. I need to report a sexual predator. Her name is Morenike. By the time they got home, the police were waiting. Morenike was arrested. Her protests drowned by tears of the boy she had hurt. From that day on, Uche slowly began to heal. His laughter returned, his friendship flourished, and his bond with Nneka grew stronger. But Angie never stopped blaming herself. She learned a painful lesson. Not all dangers come from outside. Sometimes they hide in the people we trust most. Moral of this story: always listen to your children. Boys can be victims of sexual abuse too. Abuse can come from anyone, even those closest to us. Give children a safe space to express their fears. Pay attention, protect them, believe in them. I hope you have learned something new today. If you have, kindly subscribe to this channel if you have not. Share this story for others to also watch. Invite your friends to stick on this channel because we have more compelling and interesting story with a moral for you. Thank you.